social and political commentary from a Christian male perspective.
Karen Bass then jumped into the fray. She's talking about what happened in LA. Let's talk about it. Let's go.
Mayor Karen Bass. Hi, Mayor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
Hi. So
Thank
what are
you for having
you
me
and
on.
your police force? I know how busy you are preparing for the hours ahead. What are you expecting on that front?
Well, I just have to say that if you dial back time and go to Friday, if immigration raids had not happened here, we would not have the disorder that went on last night. I will tell you that it is peaceful now, but we do not know where and when the next raids will be. That is the concern, because people in the city have a rapid response network. If they see ICE, they go out and they protest. And so it's just a recipe for pandemonium that is completely unnecessary. Nothing was happening here. Los Angeles was peaceful before Friday. When we find out when and where the other raids are going to happen, that will determine how the police respond.
Mayor Bassett's Wolf Blitzer here in the Situation Room as well. The state of California, as you well know, is expected to file a formal lawsuit over President Trump's deployment of the National Guard, perhaps as early as today. Your own police chief says the level of violence he's seeing in Los Angeles is, quote, disgusting. So why not welcome more boots on the ground?
Great question.
Well, no, I think the issue here is state power and state sovereignty. And so we do not believe, and what the governor is doing is separate from what's happening in the city. But what was the reason that the president had to take the power from the governor and federalize the National Guard? The night before this action was taken, there was a protest that got a little unruly. Late at night, it was 100 people. 27 people were arrested. There wasn't a reason for this. That is the concern. And if there was, the way it happens traditionally is that requests are made on the local level of the governor to send National Guard troops. No request came from the city of Los Angeles. What has happened now is an entirely different situation.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, we're blaming everything on Trump. So this, what we're looking at right here, is Trump's fault. These people blocking up the highway, waving Mexican flags, that's Trump's fault. Okay. All right. Just make sure I got it right.
And speaking of now, there are also, about 500 active duty U.S. Marines over at Camp Pendleton, not too far away, awaiting possible orders to mobilize. Governor Newsom has said that, let me just point out, Mayor, Governor Newsom has said that President Trump is, quote, putting fuel on the fire. And you've called the deployment of National Guard troops to your city a chaotic escalation. Why is this an escalation?
Well, again, it's an escalation that didn't have to happen. Why were there raids? You know, we had been told that he was going to go after violent criminals. It wasn't a drug den. It was a Home Depot. It was places where people are working. So what was the point of doing this? And then knowing that in a city like Los Angeles, and we had talked about this for a long time, that has a very sophisticated long-term immigrant rights organizations and institutions, that if these random raids were going to happen, then there was going to be the danger of a backlash. And you add on to that the National Guard, and it felt like fuel for a fire that was unnecessary.
So rather than say we have a rule of law, now maybe we can have an argument discussion about whether or not Trump should have superseded Gavin Newsom. We can maybe have that conversation. However, I don't think we can say that, well, because you're enforcing the law, it justifies the behavior of these people, these petulant children rioting in the street. You just can't make that, square that peg. Let's go.
Point where it has escalated to, do you think the National Guard is needed now?
No, I don't think the National Guard is needed now. Things in LA are calm. I
What?
will tell you that I'm saddened by the extent of the vandalism in the form of graffiti all through the downtown area. But it is important for people to know that even in downtown, this is isolated to a few streets. This is not citywide civil unrest taking place in Los Angeles. A few streets downtown, it looks horrible. People committed crimes. It is absolutely unacceptable. And those people that set cars on fire or did other forms of vandalism will be sought to be arrested and prosecuted. This is not the way to promote a cause like immigrant rights.
All right, I want to play some sound from Police Chief Jim McDonnell. Let's listen.
This violence that I've seen is disgusting. It's escalated now since the beginning of this incident. What we saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity.
So, you know, you had officers injured. We also heard Police Chief McDonnell talk about officers being targeted with Molotov cocktails, fireworks, rocks, other projectiles. He has also said that, you know, he's overwhelmed by the number of protesters. What are you doing as mayor to make sure your police force has what it needs right now?
Well, first of all, I'm completely in sync with the police chief. And let me just add that some people might think because they don't get arrested right on the spot that they've gotten away with something. And the message that I would send is that there's tons of videotape, and people who didn't get arrested today for committing violent acts don't plan on the fact that you get off, because you can be arrested in the next few days and next few weeks. So it is completely unacceptable, and those people that commit crimes will be arrested and prosecuted. I am completely in alignment with that. I know that when help is needed, that the police chief will call on that help, mutual aid from other cities or from the sheriff's department when that is needed. But I hope that it is not needed anymore.
Look at that.
The rage should stop, especially on people's workplaces. The impact that that can have on our local economy. We are a city of immigrants.
It's not the fact that she's still blaming it on raids. This has nothing to do with raids. The looting of stores, the firebombing of autonomous taxis, the tearing down of, none of that has to do anything with raids, ma'am. No, this is your poor leadership on display.
And I worry about the people who were detained on Friday, whose families still have not been able to reach out to them. The lawyers have not been able to go in and deal with their clients. This is unprecedented. This has not happened before. And so, again, you want to talk about chaos? Well, this is what contributes to chaos. Policies like that.
There are due process concerns, certainly. But back to what we just heard from the LAPD chief, you said that you're totally in sync with the police chief. He is saying that he's overwhelmed, that his forces are overwhelmed.
I heard that.
What more do you need to hear from him to bring in more resources, to bring him the support that he is saying he needs?
Well, what I was saying is that the support he has called on, and he has received that support from the sheriff's department and from other police departments. And so I do not believe that he was describing a situation where we cannot bring it under control here. I think you should talk to him a little bit further. But what we are seeing, for example, there's nothing happening on our streets now. On Saturday, when this decision was being contemplated, there was nothing happening on our streets. As I mentioned, that evening, there was a protest that got out of hand. It was a protest of 100 people. None of that warrants federal intervention, and that's my point.
Right, but
Ma'am, there's more than 100 people right here. I don't know what day. Maybe she's talking about Sunday. This is crazy. What is she talking about? I've seen no fewer than 100 people at a protest. Oh, well.
You also acknowledge that you don't know if there's going to be other immigration raids in the city.
Right.
So, I mean, that raises the question, what are you doing to prepare for that potential scenario? There could be more violence ahead.
Well, you know what? It's a very difficult thing to plan. We have 88 cities in our county. The raids could take place anywhere. They don't have to take place in Los Angeles. For example, the unrest that you saw on Saturday was happening in an adjacent city. It wasn't Los Angeles. It was the city of Paramount. So it's very difficult to prepare for something when you have absolutely no idea when and where it's going to take place.
You know, Mayor, the Trump border czar, Tom Homan, has now walked back some comments suggesting that you or Governor Newsom, for that matter, could face arrest if you obstruct federal authorities. How do you respond to Homan, and do you have any concerns potentially about being arrested?
No, I'm not concerned about being arrested, and I can't imagine an opportunity. I can't imagine a situation where I am going to interfere with federal agents. So it was something that was inappropriate to say. And what I am going to focus on is bringing our city together. We cannot allow ourselves to be divided. We are an international city. The diaspora from just about every country in the world lives here. And so this is a time to stand together. And it's also a time to appeal to the administration. Please dial this back. This was not necessary. It has created a sense of fear. It feels deliberate. It's like, how can I deliberately create chaos in a city? Nobody needs that right now.
Have the protests, Mayor, impacted police responses to other parts of your big city?
No, I do not believe that is the case. Again, I will reemphasize that what you are watching is taking place on a few streets downtown. Obviously, it is terrible what you are looking at. But I don't want people to leave with the perception that the city of Los Angeles is experiencing citywide unrest. Nothing could be further from the truth.
I want to share the CBS poll. It shows 54% of Americans approve of the Trump administration's program to deport illegal immigrants. A minority, 46%, disapprove. Are Democrats out of touch on this issue?
Well, I think if you did the polling in Los Angeles, I'm not sure it would be that way, considering we are a city of immigrants.
There's nobody who's doesn't have immigrants. That's not the issue. The issue is not immigrants. The issue is people in the country illegally. This is not difficult. She's just completely framing this bad.
And then people might approve that policy, but do people really approve the federal government coming in and seizing power from a state and from a city? So I drill down a little further on that poll because I do not believe that Americans support the federal intervention in a city takeover or a state takeover.
Right. And just to be clear, the poll talks about American sentiment as it pertains to illegal immigration, but it does say that the majority of Americans, we should note, disapprove of sort of some of the tactics that are being used. To your point, Mayor Bass, thank you so much for joining the show.
All right. That was very interesting. So let's see what you think down in the comments below. Give me your 2 cents. Give me your commentary, and I'll look forward to seeing you there. Grace and peace.